There's so much stuff out there about hustling, grinding, becoming your own boss and life on your terms. And a lot of stuff that I do is sometimes seen as negative, but I know from my own experiences that sometimes being perceived as successful or achieving a lifelong dream of being your own boss, having your own business, being able to come and go as you please, take holidays when you want, that's the dream for so many people. I spoke to Rob, a local businessman from Warrington, that bought a business for £1 and then later sold it for $1 million.
He actually acquired the event for about £1. Well, it was £1, which I think I don't actually paid, I don't think. So he owed that guy £1, I think.
Recently, Rob was on the front of the newspaper, the Warrington Guardian.
Walking into Sainsbury's and seeing the front page of the Guardian, you know, race director speaks out, blah, blah, and literally just that terror of a face. And then some guy came up to me, was like, oh, fucking look at you there. Hey, you stole my money. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, me and my daughter were supposed to run that family mile of yours and you just fucking stole the money.
And it wasn't a tale I was expecting to read about him, especially when, publicly, he seemed to have it all and was well known and respected in the community. So in this conversation, I catch up with Rob to see what actually happened and did he really hit the jackpot. This episode is sponsored by Empire Flippers. They take the friction out of buying real online businesses. They're the #1 curated marketplace that sells legitimate money-making digital assets. Click the link in the description. You've got a really interesting story. So we met about a year ago, and at the time you had the English half marathon. So what happened this year? Because obviously I know locally it was in the newspaper and stuff, so the event didn't go ahead, it was postponed.
So yeah, we just hit that cash flow gap. We couldn't get a sale through in time. We looked at a rescue deal with some local stakeholders, local council were willing to loan it. We just couldn't get that deal through in time.
So was it all advertised as if it was going to be going ahead as normal?
Yeah, and again, a confidence point of view, right up until the point when we cancelled it, we only announced we were cancelling it when we knew we couldn't go ahead. So literally, I was still trying to pump that confidence in, all that kind of stuff to get a rescue deal right to the point. Whilst in the background, my whole life's kind of imploding, yeah.
Yeah. So what had happened? Suppliers also bought into this next event.
So a lot of the suppliers, like I say, changed the terms. A lot of the suppliers at the event had been paid the deposit. So it's not a case of we took a load of people's entry fees and you know we've paid salaries. We've had to pay off some of the debts from the previous owners. Yeah. We've had to pay deposits, but we still had that gap, that cash flow gap.
So those runners that have paid their entrance fees, obviously the company folded now, is it?
Yeah, we were going through that process.
So if they lost their money, was it with receivers?
Yeah, they're yeah, I know a number of runners are going through their own banks and the protections that they get from the bank and stuff like that. But quite simply, even a lot of the suppliers who didn't deliver what they needed to deliver, traffic management, because the event didn't go ahead, still expect to be paid. So it's kind of that double whammy of, you know.
But I can imagine
makes it untenable, really, doesn't it?
I can imagine from the runner's point of view. I mean, even if what was the entrance fee if you were a runner?
Anything can range from £5 to £35, depending on what you're doing.
But that's their money. They will see that as like you've took that money because they don't necessarily understand how business is and sometimes like that. So how has it been received by them?
Well, I think that's the biggest thing that kind of was hurting me is people don't understand how we've had to pay rent, we've had to pay a lot of deposits. You know, pretty much we paid a big chunk of the event out. We just hit that gap where we couldn't fulfill everything. Yeah. That is the biggest thing that has hurt me and will continue to hurt me probably for the rest of my life. Is I got involved with the half marathon and it caught me emotionally. Yeah. It's not like going to get a concert ticket where you go, right, I want to go and see my band, I'll put it in the diary and we're going to go out and that's that. You've got to emotionally get ready for it, physically, fundraising. There's a hell of a lot of investment beyond just the entry fee. Yeah. And that isn't lost on me. Yeah. And that's why it hurt me so much, and that's why I got to a point where, you know, I thought the most honourable thing to do for those people was to take my life. That was the most rational thing, and I thought that is what I thought would be the best thing for them. Yeah. Because I thought then they would understand that I've tried everything for them and I take my obligation so seriously to them as the runners and a customer that they understand that that's how that they mean so much to me. Yeah. That's how I rationalize. And to be honest, I still occasionally now drop into that still.
Yeah. I don't think people sometimes necessarily realise how hard it is, and when someone's done something and it definitely isn't deliberate, and you've tried your best and you're really passionate about a project and it hasn't quite happened, it's not been a deliberate act. And I think some people's reactions, especially online rather than face to face, I don't think they realise the impact it can have on someone, regardless of, we saw something recently with what's that band called, the girls group, Little Mix. Yeah, like Jessie from Little Mix, some of the comments she would get and stuff, and how it impacts on her, and some of the comments that I've seen written about you, and I can only imagine there was worse ones privately.
Yeah, there was two stages to the announcement. We made the announcement that the event was going ahead, and that was quite vague because we still had some hope that the event would go ahead and be at a delayed date. Like I say, the council were looking to do a rescue deal, and some other organisations were, so it gave us some continued hope. Then it got to a point when we all those were exhausted, and kind of felt a little bit backed into a corner by certain individuals and organisations to maybe reveal a little bit too much. Yeah. But we made that decision, myself and my partner, that it was the right thing to do. And I've always been kind of one who kind of felt a bit uneasy and uncomfortable with people talking about their mental health.
It's quite taboo, isn't it? And there's a stigma attached to it as well, rightly or wrongly.
It's kind of like, it's a taboo, but also it sounds, I don't know, portrayed as like quite fashionable to talk about it in some avenues as well. And I've always kind of felt a bit uneasy about it, but I felt almost like, obviously once you're dead and you don't have a feeling, but it's also a cathartic kind of feeling that if I went out and said this is a position I was in, I would kind of maybe hit a little bit of that, what I thought killing myself would be. What I'll get from killing myself. So when I made that statement, and to be honest, majority of people, 99% of the people came out and said, it's not worth it, Rob. We had other organisations, Rob, it's not worth it, there's more to it than life, than this in life. People messaged privately instantly and said, I wish you had fucking killed yourself because you stole my 20 quid.
It's a running event. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
now with someone who's got hardly a pot to piss in, who knows the value of how far you can make £10 go.
Yeah.
I kind of can see that. I can see why someone could say, fucking hell, that's 30 quid.
Yeah.
Because 30 quid's a hell of a lot of money to me right now.
Yeah.
So I do get it. It's not lost in me.
Yeah, but equally, I don't think I would say to somebody that owed me 30 quid, go on, kill yourself. Especially when, obviously, you can, on an article where they've openly admitted that there was a lot of going on behind the scenes, there was a lot of pressure that wasn't public, and now they're feeling, because obviously the article that you did with the Warrants and Guiding, where you spoke about the mental health issues and thinking about killing yourself and stuff, it was hard to read at times.
It wasn't a thing about thinking about it, Mike. I think.
Well, you went a step further, didn't you?
It's a difficult process I'm going through now, where I kind of understanding myself a little more, and probably realised I've had probably mental health issues for probably 10 years plus. I didn't realise that. There's loads of things now I'm thinking, fucking hell, remember that time when I said that I had a really sore stomach and stayed in bed for 2 weeks? Actually, it was because of anxiety and I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
It's things like that now I'm thinking, fucking hell, why is it my kids are saying to me, Dad, you've never normally sit downstairs with us in the living room, you always just go to bed.
Yeah.
Literally all the time I spend at home has been in bed, and that's been my safety blanket. So now I'm kind of dealing with all of those issues, and the thought of killing, the thinking about killing myself has probably been on and off for years.
Yeah. Do you think you were distracted from these thoughts when you had, obviously you were in the business and you were doing the English half marathon and them times? Did you think it's almost sometimes business people, entrepreneurs and stuff distract themselves from the voices in their head and their true feelings with just work harder, get your head down, work harder, I'll work through it?
You always think, that something's going to happen and something's going to click into place, and tomorrow's going to be, you always feel up to the fact tomorrow you are going to get out of bed, and you're going to
'Cause it's a lonely place as well, isn't it?
It is a lonely place. I used to turn up to work midday some days and say to my staff, I've been in busy meetings all morning.
Yeah.
Actually, I've just been in bed because I've just physically, as soon as my feet touch the ground, going to the toilet, that sickness comes in. Because it is a lonely place. You're trying to portray confidence to your staff. I remember probably in the summer of last year, or spring, summer, sitting a staff down saying, I need to tell you something, guys, I'm really, really struggling mentally.
Yeah.
I remember crying, and I felt great doing it. Within 2 weeks, I had a resignation. The first comment was, "Oh, isn't because of what you said the other week."
Yeah.
I
think it was.
I don't know. And to be fair, you've got to look after number one, and you know. But the fact that they said that made, obviously, it's been a thought process, and like I say, it's that confidence thing.
Yeah.
You've always got to portray confidence to your staff.
This is the thing I think sometimes that people don't realise. To them, you know the answer to absolutely everything, and to people that don't run their own business, they think you're super successful. You know the answer. You know everything about business finance, running a team, motivating a team, you know, profit and loss, and all these different things.
Yeah, I would say in the last year, definitely wasn't the best boss. I've always think prior, you know, there's been periods when I've been in my pomp where I've been an out-and-out leader. I've been the guy who has kept the energy going, laughing, joking, you know, kept everyone happy.
What do you think the difference is then from that version of you and the version you are today? If you felt, was that just...
I just think that the sale probably was just, it stripped a lot out of me. Maybe there's an element of me likes that kind of ducking and diving element, and maybe just got tired, really, really just tired, and also thinking, why am I doing this? What is the outcome for me and the family? You know, when we sold the business for that figure, there was no better outcome for my life. You know, I've not owned a car for the last year because I've not been able to afford one.
Yeah,
that just sounds crazy to someone who just sold the business a year prior.
I've said previously that I said this on LinkedIn actually, and I got a bit of stick for it, and I'll probably get stick again if we put this out, but £1 million isn't as much as people think it is. Like, it's not at all. And I hear people even say stuff like, well, you can live off the interest, but your bank account's probably giving you 0.9 to 1.5, so you can't live on 9,000 a year or 15,000 a year. It's a misconception. Yeah. Did you think the same thing?
Yeah,
is £1 million a lot of money in your
I've never had a really great relationship with money anyway. You know, grew up with a family where we didn't have a great deal. We grew up on an estate, and Mum always ducked and dived, and different respect for money. I've never really, you know, not really from a family of savers and stuff like that. So I've not really got. I think that's probably, again, going through therapy now, is something that the relationship with money and stuff hasn't always been great. But I don't wear great clothes. I live in a rented house in Orford, WA2. You know, I borrow my mate's car when he doesn't use it, you know, I haven't got a great outcome. Ducking and diving, I've literally got 80 quid on me. I know I mentioned off camera about going away with the kids in the summer, and you can never really just escape from your head.
Yeah.
So you could go and send me off with all your YouTube revenues now to Australia, and I can go and try and relax, but I wouldn't be able to relax. I've still got to take my head with me. And I remember going away with the kids where literally, to your point around, you know, keeping yourself consumed with business, is try to relax, and actually the thoughts of killing myself just were amplified.
Yeah.
I remember with kids being, you know, quite close by, thinking, stepping out in that bus right now just looks like a great fucking option.
Yeah.
To the point where, you know, when I felt like I did exhaust all avenues regarding the event, I got found by my mate in the park with a rope in hand. But very perversely, that morning I woke up with that intention to do that. I still had a 10 o'clock meeting, which I still attended with gusto and confidence and, you know, energy. Did that meeting and walked out going, right, okay, let's carry on now, let's go get in the car and go to the woods.
Do you think that highlights how it's sometimes the people you don't expect, and you should sort of ask on, you know, how people are doing in the business and or in life and in general, just even if they seem like they are happy on the outside.
It's really, really tough.
Because that must be hard to comprehend, especially for like your family and friends and stuff, or even people in that meeting. If you go into a 10 o'clock meeting, to me, I wouldn't imagine the person that's just delivered a quality meeting, bounced in, bounced out, you know, nailed his pitch and stuff, is then left, and then you'd be doing that, you know, 2, 3, 4 hours later. It's hard to put them two things together. What have you done since then? So after that moment, what have you done for help? Because obviously there's probably some people that are going to see this and they will be able to relate to a lot of the things that you're saying.
Well, like, the biggest thing was when you've gone for years where you haven't talked to anybody really, is initially that first thing of being able just to be able to talk is great. But that doesn't last forever really. I've, you know, got professional support, and you know, everybody's trying to kind of push you to take medication.
Yeah.
And I've had other friends who've gone down that route where they've been struggling with work, and I've gone, fucking don't do that shit. It'll ruin you for life. You'll never get off them, and you lose that. And I fought to the point where, you know, on medication. Actually, an ex-professional rugby league player who I didn't know prior reached out to me and said he wanted to meet up with me and have a chat and talk to me about his story and how he coped with things, and that really kind of put me down the route that maybe medication would help, but it wouldn't help alone. I know you spoke previously about, you know, your physical health, what helps your mental health, and in that routine there's also things like medication or whatever it may be. But so there's a hell of a lot. It's a bit like it is what it is. It's a health and it's a fitness. And at the moment, I feel ill. Yeah. I feel I've got a mental illness, but that'll improve. But then I'm always going to have a mental fitness and a mental health to maintain. Everybody's got
like a plan or a routine. So
plan, routine, and sometimes I'm going to feel, you know, just like a hamstring. Sometimes it's going to tweak and it. Yeah. You know, and it's just knowing how to manage that, and that's going to be a journey, and for the rest of my life really. So, but yeah, the terms of people, there's just, I know there's 101 of us, you know, out there who are going through this, and the amount of other business owners who came out to me instantly and said, I've been in the same situation. I was like, fuck you, you've got award-winning successful business, loads of staff, and I'm thinking, fuck me, like, wow. Yeah. Wow.
Have you ever thought that yourself previously as well?
About other people?
If you've heard someone else say that previously.
About themselves? I don't know if I've been too exposed to it, really.
Because I hear that quite common, especially with how the papers and the media reports and stuff. I remember one about Aaron Lennon, where Aaron Lennon just pulled over. He got out of his car, was suffering mental health issues. Premier League football, if no one knows. And then the news article said, I think it was £75,000 a week, Aaron Lennon, that suffers mental health issues. And I think that's
irrelevant, largely irrelevant.
But that's what I think, that's how the media is at the moment. So how are you finding, because obviously it was local media that came out now, and you're obviously not running that, so you'll be looking to do something else. So how has that been?
I probably then spent the following 5 weeks pretty much straight in bed.
Oh really?
Yeah, absolute safety blanket for me. Didn't get out of bed. Just completely. No one was. You know, every time the door knocked, some all sorts of feelings through my head. You know, a friend of mine screenshotted something off Facebook where somebody had posted my address online to say, let's go around his house and have a protest about, let's get the event back on. Literally felt completely trapped. Couldn't go to the shops.
You told me a funny story about being in the shop recently. What happened?
A few weeks ago, I was in Tesco, and I think I was picking up some bits, and some guy came up to me, was like, "Oh, fucking look at you there, spending my money on toilet roll." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Hey, you stole my money." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, me and my daughter were supposed to run that family mile of yours, and you just fucking stole the money." I'm like, So then it's like that fear of going to the shops is still there, and obviously we've just gone through Christmas, and I've not had the money to go out anyway, but friends are like, oh, let's go out, we'll shout you drinks and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't want to go out because someone will go, fucking look at him there living the fucking high life, drinking a pint of mild, Greenall's mild, look at him there, and and that's impacted obviously my family. Yeah. My girlfriend, who's been been very supportive, going, let's go out for dinner, I'll treat you, and I'm like, I can't go out, so I feel like a prisoner to it all, really.
Yeah. And what about job prospects and career prospects now then?
I remember a few years ago really, really boasting to myself that I'd never need a CV again. Never going to need a CV again. I'm going to be my own man now, I'm going to do my own thing. And prior to Christmas I did, so what I've actually done is a good friend of mine and a true business leader locally, a guy called Paul Taylor, has been very supportive of me, and basically I kind of said to him, look, I'm in bed every day, I don't know what day it is, I don't know what time it is, the only thing I've got for me at the moment is the kids who come around a couple of times a week. So he basically said, look, I want you to turn up to work on Monday, turn up to the office, I want you to get dressed, I want you to bring your lunch. And I literally, for 2-3 days, that lasted okay, and I kind of got into a routine, but then I crashed again and restarted. So we got to a point before pre-Christmas where I think I did 5 straight weeks of getting up Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, which I've not done for years. A, because the anxiety and the depression had got to me, or B, you have that kind of benefit of being a business owner with a bit flexible with your time. Yeah. So he's really kind of given me that platform to allow me to kind of get into a routine again, and from that, done my CV, I've done a bit of reading and trying to obviously sort out a lot of the issues as well with the company. So I'm trying to get a routine, but yeah, I've tried to apply for jobs, don't get very far. I've tried to even go for warehouse jobs where people they still want a CV and they're like, just don't understand why I'm there.
Is that because based on your experience? And then do you have to explain why? Because I can imagine that's a logical question. This is a step down, perceived step down from some of the stuff that you have been doing. You know?
I think people see it as a threat. I think people, obviously, if they wanted to then do a bit of due diligence on me, they'd easily know about mental health stuff.
Has that been brought up at all at any point? Has anyone said, oh, actually, we've...
No, I did apply for a job where they have a kind of a questionnaire of, on the mental health one. Have you got a mental health issue? Which you think, and I've put no, because I thought, oh my God, and then I feel really guilty and bad about that and all that kind of stuff. So it is, like I say, it feels like a bit of a prisoner to it. So then you kind of then think, okay, well, no one's ever going to give me a job.
Yeah.
So then you think, well, I'm going to have to then continue to be an entrepreneur. Well, I definitely know I never want to do events again, nor will the running industry or running community want me to be part of their community. So that's fine. So thinking, okay, well, I've got no money, but who's going to invest in me?
Yeah.
I've got a failed business, this, that and the other. So all these things are just, you feel completely lost.
The interesting thing, though, you've probably got a stronger story to tell than most of the sort of business consultants or business gurus, because realistically, not many people want to talk about failures. Legit failures or things that they would do differently. And I bet now you could look back at your time since 2013, was it? 2015?
Yeah.
And you've probably you would do many things differently now.
I think a lot of my failures are far more valuable than a lot of people's successes.
Yeah.
And this is something that is a room for optimism for anyone for myself and anyone in my position, is despite probably dealing with a 10-year mental health problem, and despite the very public failure that has been there all to see, and the crash, is despite all of that, I've still delivered a hell of a lot of success.
Yeah.
So what if I do now know that I've got a health problem that I need to manage, and I can manage that better, and I learn from my mistakes, not particular mistakes, I can learn and be stronger from it. Could I be quite a more formidable person in the future? I reckon so. And that gives me this massive high in optimism, and then the next day I think about, half an hour later I think about something else, and it's like, fucking hell, what's the point of all of this? So it is, I think prison is probably the key word to it, really. So,
yeah. Do you think as well, if other people see that you publicly or online or Especially it's like if you're getting stick in Sainsbury's when you've got your toilet roll or whatever, are you worried that if they see you doing something else, it looks as if you've just
like I don't care? Yeah, like I don't care. Moved on, took their money and gone on to the next venture, and it's like, I know that's not true. People close to me know that's not true.
Honestly, I want to say thanks very much for coming and speaking to us so candidly and stuff. And I think there's more people do this. Have you got a sort of message to anyone else that might be struggling, or they're running a business, or they've got problems, or what would you say that they should do if they're feeling similar to how you've been feeling?
I know it sounds cliche, but you can't carry it all on your own. You need to find somebody to talk to, and if I was to ever look back now and think, okay, from when I started business in my mid-20s, is like what would I do differently? Is I would probably look to create my own kind of virtual board, like your own.
Yeah.
So people have mentors, but even with mentors, I think you still is a bit of like, you're still acting up a little bit, and you're trying to be a bit bravado, and
you want them to be impressed by you.
You want to impress you. So if you used to get a mentor, and I know you've done a lot of stuff with mentors, but my personal take is get 2 or 3 of them. Yeah. Get one of them who you can do your bravado and your stuff. Do one who's going to just look at numbers and actual real stuff, and get a third one who's just going to look after you.
Yeah.
I think because you can't get all from the same person. I think you need to create your own virtual board of people and advisors, and you have to give them some bit of skin in the game. A couple of percent. Just fucking do it, because you need those safety nets, because it's such a lonely place, and you can't rely on your staff to do it. Yeah. It's unfair on them, and also they are looking for your leadership. You need that. You really do. But also, just remember why you're doing this. Don't lose that perspective like I did, where you feel that you completely forget about your family and you think work's all there is.
So many people out there don't really talk about their failures. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean the bullshit backstory they're using to prime you for an upsell. I mean really their failures, how it impacts them at home now, how it impacts their health, their mental state, the pressures of making decisions for other people, money worries, money issues. These are things that impact business owners and entrepreneurs on a daily basis, and often they don't have anyone to talk to about, especially in the business, for fear of not looking strong or in control. Thanks to Rob for coming in and talking to us about these sensitive issues. Now, I'm not a proper adult. I'm just some idiot that makes stupid YouTube videos, and the comment section is probably not the place to start talking about mental health issues. So what I would say, if you are impacted or feel any of the things that have been discussed, please reach out to someone that's professional and knows how to help. And if there's anybody you suspect that might be in a similar position to what was outlined in the conversation you've just seen, please just check up on them, reach out, and just see if they're all right. Thanks for watching.